Big old
It's
hood.
sweater weather.
It is sweater weather in Boston. I miss it like only like this much, but I kind of miss it.
I miss it.
Do you?
I miss it a lot.
Where are you from again?
Ohio.
Oh, yeah. So you guys get brutal some winters, right?
Yeah, I don't really miss the brutal winters, but I like right now I miss the fall. Like I just want to walk outside and feel cold sometimes.
Yeah, we had I woke up yesterday morning and it was only 77 degrees here. We were like, wow, it's so cool in Florida. We just love it.
We're having a beautiful day right now, and the leaves are just peaking, so it's perfect. Honestly, it's probably like hit 60 today, so it's like perfect fall. Little brisk, little nice.
Yes, a little cold on your nose, but makes you feel alive, right?
Yeah. And
I just had a bittersweet thought. We were supposed to actually be in Boston this coming weekend a year ago. We were planning our travel trips. We won't get there. I
took the life out of us.
Well, not fully, right? Like we are here, and we are definitely going to keep expanding, and eventually when
we're going to launch Boston.
We are, yeah. I've actually had a couple people ask me about, are you guys doing that? What's happening? How are we going to expand? So if you're listening, we are not just going to stay in Florida forever. Alicia and I have big plans, and hopefully Laura will help too. But I want to shoot those beautiful fall colors. I want to shoot different, landscapes, and
you have a different idea or vision than what I do. I mean, we're going to get into that word today, but I've been, doing a lot of portraits or families or fall, stuff like that, and using the fall to create really beautiful like backdrops or colors behind them. But I have yet to photograph it. Maybe that's something I got to do this weekend. It's more of a landscape.
But you mentioned to me earlier you've been doing, you were pretty booked this weekend with shoots, right? So did you get to play with kind of the fall vision in your session?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. It's beautiful, yeah. So.
And I'm sure the colors are going to change more, but also just the way your subjects, the people that you're capturing, there's something about the seasons changing and that excitement of not just like cute new fall styles, but just that excitement of life again, just because there happens to be a change going on. It was fun to shoot.
Yeah, I mean, everything's going to be bare soon. So, I mean, it's that whole renewal process of, breaking down and then building back up again.
Totally. And, we are always talking about all different ways to kind of create a vision, and one of them is you kind of just have to see what your surroundings and your scenery are bringing to you, right? So our word this week, guys, is actually 2 words for Wednesday Wisdom, and I want to compare these words, but I also want to talk about the differences. So it'll be interesting to get just like forget photography for a minute, but when I share these 2 words, like how are they different, but how are they kind of the same too? So I wrote it in our post today, and someone already said like great advice, and it's funny because I forget to think of these things as like advice, but the words we're going to use today to talk about some Wednesday wisdom are the word mission versus the word vision. And I remember even just in, originally like writing a business plan for Live Wonderful, it's like, what's your vision, right? Is very different than the mission that you're on to create that vision. So I wanted to bring Lauren in today too, because she's on a mission to become a photographer. She is a photographer, but you've seen a lot of changes in your work recently, right?
Yeah.
Seen you're growing. So I'll start with you. Like what do you think of when you think of the word mission? Or forget vision for a second, but like when you think of the word mission, what do you think of?
I just think of getting there, doing what I'm supposed to do, and then leaving. I used to be so nervous at first that I would just go, okay, I have to just do this, set my settings, take the pictures, and then I'm good.
Yeah, like you're on a journey, right? You're just like step by step by step, get through this process. But then when you think of the word vision, what does that mean to you?
Yeah. So today I was taking headshots of someone that I knew for their business, and today I actually could visualize how I wanted him to sit, how I wanted the photo to look, how I wanted to portray him in the picture. And
you thought of that before
I even snapped the photo. Well, even on the way there, I was thinking of that vision, and it felt a lot better today, and they turned out like some of my most favorite photos that I've taken so far.
Yay.
Yeah, and they're great shots. I was hoping she might get a time. She needs some time to edit them, but we'll definitely make sure we share them. Talk to them a little bit about what you were telling me with his hair.
So yeah, he's a little self-conscious about his hair because he's older and it's thinning, and it's also white, very white.
So he's like got that nice waft of white hair, but you can tell it's thinning here.
I always I can say this because I say it to him all the time, but I always tell him it's like his Q-tip. Like he looks like kind of like because it's so white up top. So he pointed out to me that he's self-conscious about it. So I needed to keep in mind with my vision that whatever was behind his head had to be dark in order for
his hair to stand up.
Yeah.
And it was super obvious when she's been learning our Lightroom classes through our online classes. She hasn't been able to make it to an in-person class. So she's taking our video recording class and kind of just using that as she's editing her shots. And as she was flipping through them, when I was looking over her shoulder, it was super obvious. Like you would get this, Alicia. It was really obvious when you looked at one shot and then you could tell where her vision changed to the very next shot. Like you're like, that's a good shot. And then all of a sudden, that's a great shot just from that simple tweak. And that's really the key to going like, okay, I'm on some mission. I'm just out here doing my thing. Versus I have a visual understanding of what I need to capture. And to do that, I need to move to make his hair stand behind a dark background or something. And I think I can't remember what we said in our post today, but I think it was something like, if you're not sure what your vision is, right? And you know what that feels like, right? I still do. If you're not sure and you show up to a shoot, just be on that mission, right? Just kind of let the vision unfold as you start shooting. I think
this is where I kind of come in a little bit is I shoot like that. I don't put too much pressure on my vision because when I get to my shoots, that changes a lot. And because there's so many elements that can change, the mission you have or the vision you have when you go to these shoots. So
and then
go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, sometimes those elements in your scene, whether it's like the personality of your subject or the way the clouds are changing, sometimes, yes, we always have to be in that present moment to be aware of those changes and be able to adapt. And if we're too much fixated on some vision we're trying to capture, we don't necessarily see the magic of things that are happening in front of us that could add to that story or make it a better story than what we originally envisioned, right?
Yeah. I mean, for example, I had a family shoot this weekend and they were dressed perfectly, everything. They were all excited. And then, I had a vision, maybe, I set them up in a certain area, in the grass and the, shade and with the sun behind, actually not behind them. And that was my problem is as soon as I realized that I needed the sun actually behind them, then the magic started happening. But then the kids were out of control. Like you can't, you know what I mean? Like I had to, and then the parents are getting stressed and it's like, I had to deflect that. And you start to change your vision and be like, you know what, I'm going to capture these kids as they're just being, themselves in the present moment. And then we can capture some like group photos, but sometimes it doesn't go according to plan. So I try not to overwhelm myself with sticking to a certain vision. The mission really is to capture these people in their element. And so in bring a story to life without, trying to, force anything.
Exactly. And this is, whatever you call it, like the live wonderful philosophy. This just happens to be how we like to shoot, right? But there are plenty of beautiful, amazing photographers out there who literally go from vision to exact picture. One of my favorites here locally in Orlando that, again, I love, we were just talking about this. She's like, I need to follow more photographers. And I reminded her, I said, follow their work based on a feeling you get when you see a photo. Don't follow them because you think they're better or you're trying to like analyze and create the vision they created. But what feeling is portrayed through their photos? How does that make you feel? If that's a feeling that you like, follow it. So I love following photographers. And when I say follow, yes, we mean social media, but just like finding inspiration through other artists. I love looking at artists who don't shoot like me. And so because we're teaching you this way, Alicia and I are much more organic, natural photographers. We like to be candid and in the moment. One of my favorite people to follow here locally is a woman by the name of Maribel. And
her stuff is great.
Yeah, she does these incredible self-portraits. But it starts, and I don't mean to butcher this if Maribel ends up watching this, but I believe her initial inspiration for starting to create these self-portraits was from old famous photographs of other people.
Fine art,
yeah. So fine art photographs. The woman in the pearl, or woman with the pearl, is a famous Nat Geo story of this Somali refugee or whatever. She's in this big wrap and she has these little earrings on. And so Maribel actually put herself in this outfit, looked at the lighting in that shot, and actually pieced together every part of it, from the background to the way her hair was, to the angle, to the expression on her face, to the way the light is hitting her.
She recreates these photographs into her own art and photograph as well, which is amazing. And that is her vision, and she's with it, and I think it's beautiful.
There's another one called Gilmar Smith, Gilmar Smith. She's phenomenal too. Completely different kind of photographer. She's located in Winter Garden. You should follow her. So her big thing you'll love, Alicia, is she does composites in Photoshop, and she photographs her children in fantasy stories.
I love this. I was talking about this last night, and I would love to do this.
She'll come up with an idea like, okay, the holiday is Halloween. So her stuff right now is like these spooky, like she makes her kids look like adults. Like she totally makeups them up and does them all in like outfits. And then they stand there in these like stoic positions, and she photoshops them to look like dolls. And she does these like storyboards that look like paintings of children, but they're all photographs. So I appreciate following other photographers who have a different style, a different vision. And when you can
learn, it lets you grow. It lets you expand your horizons a little bit. I mean, Miguel, that guy that we're connected with, I follow him too. And he does a lot of this stuff that I do behind the scenes when it comes to flash photography. So I love watching his stuff, and that pushes me out of my comfort zones too, to continue down that road a little bit more than just that more intimate, organic, natural shoot. So I love that.
The nice thing too about learning from other creatives is that, fine, they have their own vision, right? That's what it means to be creative, is like you're on this mission to figure out what Lauren's style is and how you're going to add that special.
That vision changes.
Totally. But it also, when you see someone who has a vision that is really concrete and their style is obvious, it's fun to figure out what their mission was, what their journey was to get to that point. And when I have conversations with Maribel, she'll tell you 5 years ago, I was just a woman with a camera and a trigger in my living room she'll look at you like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just figuring it out, right? So, those of you guys who are listening in, whether you're photographers or just creatives in general, whatever it is, that mission that you say that you're on, it is about not knowing. If you knew, you wouldn't be on some mission to figure it out, right? So we kind of have to be okay with that unknown and still moving forward through it. And slowly but surely, you start to get to a point where you're like, I already have a vision.
Yeah.
I kind of know what I want to go into this mission with, and I know how I want to take this further.
Yeah.
We've got preschool shoots again, right? So we always have a vision. We have an exact look that these photos have to represent, but there's no way in hell every kid's gonna walk up to our camera and act the way we need to, right? So every 5 minutes, I'm on a new mission to like get to know this kid and get them to smile as quickly.
They're all different. It's hard. It's not easy getting kids to smile or not cry or sit a certain way. It's not easy.
And just to like kind of get back to like some Wednesday wisdom for a minute, you know, we talk about photography and storytelling, and we love that, and everybody loves photography, even if you're not normally shooting. I know we all love to take pictures, but let's just talk about business or life for a minute. When, you know, whatever you're doing in life or in your career, you have goals, right? We all have goals that we want to reach, or maybe you're figuring out what that goal is. Mm-hmm. But you're on a mission. And I remember realizing that when I first grasped my ideas for Live Wonderful, it was like, I want to be okay with the fact that I don't necessarily know always what my vision's going to be. And I want to feel confident just being on this mission to figure things out and not have to always know how I'm going to do it, but just know that I'm moving into that space.
Yeah. When I took the classes with you, I had this big vision of like, okay, I'm gonna transition from what career I was doing then into getting paid for photography. And I'm like, this is gonna be how I make my money now, and I'm gonna love it, and it's gonna be, you know. And I bought all these books, I signed up for all these classes, and then almost immediately got burnout because I was turning it into a business instead of
a journey, a mission, just a fun, creative mission.
Now I'm not hard on myself. I just take my time, and I'm going to learn as I go, and I'm not thinking of it as a business anymore.
I mean, you're on the right track. You got to take one step at a time. I mean, I'm even how many years into this, and I neglected the business part of everything. I am good at the creative part. I'm good at the vision part. But I neglected to handle the business the right way. And now I'm learning that step. So it doesn't matter where you are in your journey. You just have to, you know, take it day by day. And there's always room for learning and growing and failing. You got to fail to learn and grow too. So, you know, you might have got burnt out in the beginning. I mean, as we did, you know, probably many times along the way. But, you kind of
I quit my first job because it burned me out. I loved, we just had her on here a couple weeks ago. Surprisingly, she jumped onto Facebook or Instagram. I spent my first 4 years in this career at Little's Photography in South Florida. And I loved every minute of going into that studio, knowing that together as a team, we were on a mission to build this brand and to create this vision. And I would admit within 2 years, I was pushing instead of enjoying it. I was pushing it. So every time I hit a wall or resistance, or it wasn't going the way I wanted, I fell further and further behind on that enjoyment level, right? On that actual motivation to keep going, because I was pushing too hard to make it what I thought it had to look like. And in the end, the truth was we grew apart, right? I grew in a different direction. And the beautiful part of it, that was 10, 15 years ago. We're still great friends. I still love working with them any chance I get. And they taught me so much about the business. But I had to literally take that leap of faith and leave that vision to go create my own and be on my own mission. And God, we all know, if you've been listening, you know how crazy my mission was after that. Lauren's helping me rewrite some of these blog posts. She doesn't know it yet, but that's going to be her next project. And I mean, the crazy journey I went on from thinking I was going to leave college and go be a photographer and look, I got a job and I'm running this studio, to go, this isn't what I thought it was going to be like. Even though I learned so much, the joy was burnt out of me. But it's almost, I would never ever be where I am today without that. Yeah. And I talk about Jen all the time, Jen Little, because I would say 75% of what I know, especially in the business aspect of photography, I learned from them. You know, I learned how things should go. But I had to go find the creative side of things. I learned the technical and was never given a chance to like not be good at it and like go figure out and make mistakes and learn by just experimenting.
Right.
And that took me 5 years afterwards before Live Wonderful came to be. So, and now when I look back, and this is something you'll find, and anyone who's listening in, hi, Miguel. We're going to talk about you and your style. You will realize in hindsight, oh, I see my style now.
Yeah.
You won't go, I've decided here's the recipe for my style of photography.
You know, and I see too many photographers do that, and they kind of pigeonhole themselves, whether it's a certain color they have to their photos or, I mean, if it works for them, great, that's their vision. But that will change over time as you get better and better and better and learn new things
and want to add new things, like you're adding in flash photography and you know, just not just more equipment, but more comprehensive ways to create a shot.
It's so much fun. I always want to tell people, you know, like expand that horizon, learn that new stuff, because I mean, technology is so quick, you know, and it's, if it like sparks an interest in you, learn it, you know what I mean? Go out and figure out how to do it.
You know what word comes to mind is curiosity.
Yeah.
We forget when we think we have to have some certain perfect look or vision to something, like there's some perfect formula, we forget that we're just supposed to be curious, and that curiosity is going to lead us on this mission.
And usually magic happens in that curiosity.
Yeah.
So that's why I always preach, you might have this vision, which I've gone into weddings with a certain vision, like some of the photos Miguel has, you know what I mean? You're using that off-camera flash with gels, or how you're setting it up, like it's in your head. But how it goes according to plan doesn't always happen, and you have to kind of bob and weave and adjust that vision. And the magic happens in that curiosity. So
it's also a mix of not just the equipment and the scenery, but your subjects. You were just talking about someone that you went into a shoot and had a vision and a mission, but the subject was your resistance every step of the way, right?
Yeah. And I was going to say too, the guy that I photographed earlier today, even though I had my vision and I was happy about that, like I felt good that I finally knew what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until we were walking on the way back and he said, "What do you think about this bench?" And I'm like, I don't know. It wasn't in my vision, and I don't know about the plants, or, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, let's try it. And he sat down and
that's good that you did that. That's awesome.
Did you hear? It's her favorite photo.
Oh, good. I do believe what you did is in my heart is you have to satisfy the client too. So, you know, bob and weave there and bend for them as well. So you're letting them know that you care about their vision as well. They might have an idea, just test it out, see if it works, and then move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And don't get hooked up on one spot, or, you know what I mean? Like sometimes we get so hooked up on one scene, or, you know, shooting that way, like kind of get out of that and get to the next. Maybe your vision changes, and, you know, especially with photography. Or
Miguel just said, yes, always try it. Why not? I often surprise myself.
Right.
I love that. Always try it. Like if you have, and I have goosebumps, Miguel, you know what that means. If a thought, okay, I'm going to get a little meta on us for a minute, okay? If a thought comes into your head, where did that thought come from?
It just comes. It's creativity. It's direction.
It's your intelligence. It's the intuitive intelligence that's in the universe, that's in the stars. It's there. We didn't go, there was a thought, there's the no. it just happened, right? All your sensory intake, all your past experiences brought you to this exact moment in time, and boom, there's an idea, there's a thought.
It usually comes when you're looking through the viewfinder in the, you know what I mean? It really does. When you're squaring stuff up and you're like, ooh, I like that. I like that. Like, I love getting creative on the fly.
Yes.
Because you really can't predict what's going to happen every single time.
And when you get that idea or that, ooh, like, I think I've got it, and maybe your thought goes a step further and it's something you've never done before, or you've never tried, or you're not sure if it'll work. But if the thought came into your head, you need to try it. Always try it. Like, don't not do it. Why? That's like an obvious regret if you don't go out and like try it. So I do the same thing sometimes. I'll hesitate, right? If then this is in life. Like, my fiance will give me an idea for something and I'm like, and I'll immediately like be like, well, that's not really in my vision, right? But as soon as I go, well, and I just consider it and kind of picture it for a minute, I've got to try it.
Yeah.
If it fits at all a little bit, it's worth trying, even if it's just to make a huge mistake. You know, one of the posts we're going to repost in a couple months is the title is "Make No Mistake, This Is a Lesson." So, you know, the idea is like, every time you think you've done something wrong, and actually my yoga teacher just said this morning. She's like, this kid literally fell in the middle of a headstand or something, just crashed right on the mat. The whole yoga class like was up in arms, and he's like, I'm sorry. And then we're trying to calm back down, and she goes, you know, the thing is, you only think you're wrong because you think you know what right is. And all of that is simply a construct in our head.
Yeah, I love it.
There is no right or wrong, right? So the fact that he tried that move, the fact that you get an idea in your head with the camera and your equipment, and you're like, I don't know how this would work. Just trying it means you're going to take it that much further to either knowing if it was for you and you something amazing and magical and you surprised yourself, like Miguel said, or if it was, well, that didn't work, that was a bad idea. At least you now know. At least you tried it.
You know what's funny? I did a shoot this weekend too, and it was for more like a product shoot, like content too for Arbonne. I don't know if anybody knows Arbonne, but I ended up switching to video because on the spot, I'm like, I want to get these little clips of, there was like a tea bag thing, you know, with a mug, and I wanted to get the tea bag with the Arbonne logo, and just as a little clip as content. I'm like, this is great. Like, I'm actually stepping out of my comfort zone too, doing something with video that I never do, you know, and it's adding an element to what I can offer. And
yeah, and you didn't know you wanted to switch to video until you were looking through that viewfinder, and all of a sudden a new thought came into your head, right?
Yeah, and she's like, this is so awesome. Like, your client gets excited, and I'm like, let's do a pour of the smoothie. Make a smoothie for me. I'm like, come on, like, let's do this. I love it. Your vision, that's what I mean. I go into some shoots with an idea, but the vision changes as, you know, on the spot as you're being creative, and you can direct it however you want to direct it. And be confident in that. Just not knowing is fun sometimes.
Yeah. I think when I feel like I'm losing confidence, I remind myself to just make it a game. Like take the pressure off. You can't win or lose. Like, it's just a game. Go play. And you know, that's the case with anything in life. We don't just need to relate this to photography, guys. You know, the idea behind Live Wonderful is that at any given moment in time, you are choosing to see the wonder in that moment. You are choosing to be present to whatever your experience is giving you, whatever your sensory intake is showing you. And whatever is your big mission in that moment, you can create a new vision, a new idea to capture. And this is kind of like a tiny detail, but one thing I wanted to make sure I pointed out is like, the simplest way to do that is to make one tiny change, right? Like, I I don't need to have some big extravagant plan to move through a vision or a mission. I just need to know one little tiny thing I might want to alter. So in photography, I tell our beginner students all the time, I'm like, stop overcomplicating what you want to do. I tell the women, I'm like, look, if you feel like you haven't picked up the camera in a while, put a wine glass in front of you, put a lamp on, and make it easy. And just make the change by changing your angle.
And then drink the wine.
And then drink. But one little change as you're practicing anything you're doing, any creative thing that you're getting into, like with my gardening, it's like, I want a big garden. I want all these different things. Like, no, I'm just going to plant spinach. Let's see if I can get spinach to grow. Oh, that worked. Now let's take it a step further. So, they're building blocks, right? You wouldn't be learning photo editing before you learn how to capture the picture, right?
I think in your case, Lauren, too, I mean, with anybody starting out too, it's a little overwhelming and frustrating. You have to go through the hard times to get to the good times, and you're always going to be presented with hard experiences, and you're like, oh my God, that was difficult. But how do you learn or grow without the difficult moments, So
that's the only place you grow.
Yeah. So I think you have to go, your journey is going to be different than Danielle's or mine or anybody's for that matter. Everybody's journey is different, and you're going to learn things at a different pace. And your vision might get frustrating or mission because you're not there yet. You see the light at the end of the tunnel, but you're not there. We're all never there. Wherever we want to be, we always want to continue to grow. And I think that's something important for everybody to know, is that it's a journey. Enjoy it. You don't have to rush to the finish line. Just enjoy it.
Right.
There is a finish line, to be honest.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, everybody wants to be as best as this person or this person. Be on your own journey. You have your own creative eye, your own vision, your own everything. So there is creative vision within each of us, and it's different, and it's never going to be the same. So it's just getting started. That makes it different. It's
and makes it feel hard, right? It's like that first step, or maybe it's the first step after some resistance or some obstacle you just overcame. That first movement forward that feels the hardest, but once you move, you're like, oh, all I gotta do is put one foot in front of the other, right? There's not much harder than that. I just I met with a new client this morning. I did an interview of her because we're rebuilding the brand story for a nonprofit medical company, and she is not only a big part of the company, but she actually has the rare disease that this nonprofit is supporting and searching the cure for. So it was an interesting interview because I needed to get her in, I was about to say intelligence. I needed to get her expertise and her knowledge about the disease. And I also wanted to get her personal story. So when I was asking her, I felt like I was on this mission, right? And I had this vision of who she needed to be in my character in this interview. And I had this idea of like exactly the emotional points I wanted to hit, and it ended up just being this beautiful conversation. At one point we were both in tears, and it's now this story of hope. It's not a story of being on some, mission to find a cure and like toughness and all these struggles I went through. No, it's this beautiful story of like, she's super passionate like we are. She feels motivated that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and the whole story is completely different than what I thought it would be like. And it actually has made me but just re-envision how we're going to help this nonprofit really bring their brand to life online, because it's difficult in the medical community when you're telling some sad story about, a disease that doesn't have a cure. And yet that's not at all where we're going to come from. Now that I have her story, it's this beautiful story of hope, and it's totally different. So it can be anything that you're doing, whatever your job is. If you're a parent, a nurse, a dentist, a school teacher, a fence builder. We just had a fence put up. Anything that you do that, you know, makes you money, or you go to work every day, what's that passion that's underlying there? What's that mission that you're on? And do you feel like you're getting to that light at the end of the tunnel? Because if you're not, you better find a mission, right? I feel like there's got to be that joy in the journey.
Yeah, I mean, you got to find what makes you happy and live with purpose in a way. And I think that can change your whole entire life. You know what I mean? You could be one person one day and one person another. And, you know, I'm not a photographer in 5 years from now. I might go on to something else that I feel like you know.
I can tell you right now, when I started traveling with just my camera, there wasn't an ounce of me that thought I'd be doing what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what Live Wonderful was going to become.
That vision or mission changes.
It changes. And now it's far bigger. The vision we have is far bigger than what I can do in this first mission, right? Like now it just feels like, okay, we got to get through one journey and then we'll get to the next journey of growing.
Yeah.
But you've got there's something about being flexible and adaptable in that mission too, that makes the unknown enjoyable. Like just being able to adapt with every moment.
Yeah, and there's a beautiful part about letting go. And in that case, with that client, you know, you had to let go of what you thought, you know, you had to go in there with and propose. Instead, you found yourself hearing their story, and something else beautiful came out of that. And like, yep, I'm gonna. This is why I'm here is to, you know, support your mission and tell your story.
Exactly.
And do it in the best way possible. And hearing, it's
a good way to put it. I forget that sometimes. I mean, I know that, but you forget that when you're in the moment that,
when it comes down to it, it's all about connection, and that connection and that relationship you can build with that client or customer or even friend or family. Like, it's important.
Anyone.
I think that's where I've done really well with. And now I'm thinking about the other side is that comes natural, but the other stuff does not. And it overwhelms me. So that's where my vision has to lay right now on my journey, is the business aspect. Because I won't get to where I want to be, or that, you know, where that vision I can see without that taking that time to handle the other stuff.
And it's cool because each of us is kind of at a different point on our journey. Mm-hmm. You know how, I love the saying that's like, don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle or end. And so this is kind of cool if I am going to compare for a minute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, you feel like you're just at the beginning of your journey, but really you're not, because there's people who are coming to the beginner class next weekend who are actually at the beginning of their journey, right? And Alicia thinks she's at the beginning of this new level in business in her journey, but you remember what it was like to be at Lauren's level and have some vision. And the idea of a business side of things wasn't in your vision yet, right? So you had to go through these steps to get to a point where you can create a new vision and a new.
Well, I didn't have the tools at that time either. Yeah. The people that had that knowledge, now I do. And now I'm exploring that and making sure that I can get past this hump on my journey to really, create that vision that I have for my own self. And then other things can happen as well. And,
I love that. I think we should end with that. Like, I want everyone who's listening in or who's watching this on, maybe it's YouTube later, but like, just for a moment, think about where you are right now. Not, what you have to do as soon as we get off here, but like where you are. We talked about the other day. It's like, I'm always going to that 60,000 foot view. Like, something happened. Now let me back up and assess that with everything else going on in my life or in whatever that project is you're working on. So when you are in the process of creating your mission or envisioning what you want out of a shot or out of your future or the next day in your career, whatever it may be, stop right now and just envision what you think you want. And really, it's who you want to be, right? So when you thought of the like the one lady you told me who like told you where she wanted to be photographed, and you were like, I didn't know how to handle that shoot. Now you can envision how you might want to go into a photo shoot and have more control over the communication and the people, or how you control those people in the shot, right?
Or even before we even get to the location, how am I communicating with her?
Yeah, to make sure. Right. So for me, it's like right now, we really want to spend, I'll give a little hint, we really want to spend 2021, guys, building our online courses, not just live classes, but actual permanent courses online. And that's a huge step for us to take. But simply being here where we are now, it took getting here for me to now re-envision what 2020 needs to look like. I can't just say that's my goal. I need to now take time to look at that within my year and not just plan it out, but actually foresee myself going through these processes. So whatever it is you're
little goal, those little goals to meet that bigger vision.
Exactly. You kind of go backwards from the vision.
You can't go from like, point A to point B so fast the way we want to. It's frustrating. You really just have to knock those things off one at a time to catch that thing. And you'll get there faster than you probably think. And that's been my whole life.
That is the craziest thing that we realize is like, and I get told this all the time in, like meditation practices that I do, but it's like, or if you've ever heard of The Secret, have you ever heard of The Secret? Oh my God. The Law of Attraction. Have you ever heard of The Law of Attraction? So The Secret is the movie about the Law of Attraction. Okay. And the concept is really simple, but it's so hard to grasp in the moment. You do not focus on the how, right? We should not actually be focusing on how we're going to get to that accomplished mission. We only need to focus on the what and the why. The how comes naturally. The how are those baby steps, right? What do they say? Like, how do you eat a horse? One bite at a time, or whatever. Like,
someone said that to me the other day. That's the second time.
We get so fixated on, I don't know what to do next. I don't know what to do next. Or you need this vision to work out perfectly. We hold ourselves back, right? And instead, if we can actually envision the what, right? The light at the end of the tunnel, where we want to go. And then simply in The Secret, they talk about trusting your why, trusting your intuition, trusting that inner guidance that said, this is my purpose. This is why I want to do this. We have to trust that. And by having the vision, the what and the why, then the how will come naturally and you'll be okay.
And trusting the process and not comparing yourself to others.
Absolutely.
So I think that's big. I know we didn't show any photographs today, but I hope that was great.
No, I like changing it up. This is the fun of it. I didn't even know Lauren was going to be able to be here until yesterday. So,
I think the mission is better talked about too than shown, because
honestly, I never really understood the concept of vision versus mission until I related it to photography.
Interesting.
Like even learning about it in school and trying to like create it for businesses.
Yeah.
I never really grasped the concept.
And that's something to keep in mind, guys. We are not just a photography company. We are here to help create a story. So in your business, if you're looking for those words and those concepts that actually create the construct of our values and our mission in our business, we can help with that, right? Like that's what we're doing right now for this nonprofit. We're doing it with Insight Photography too, another photography company where we're doing the portraits. I know, Alicia, you're constantly thinking about that from a visual perspective when you're doing your brand shoots and product shoots and things like the content.
Yeah, there's a lot of marketing, mentorship, aspect to it. And you don't even realize you're doing it half the time. So
exactly. Well, that's what I was going to say. It's so valuable. It took me building confidence as a storyteller before I realized that my expertise behind the camera doesn't just apply to photography. It applies to any type of story that needs to be conceptualized. So whether it's through words or through sales and just talking and communicating, we've learned that as photographers. And it's my favorite part. I always say, like, I don't like being called a photographer because I feel like that puts me in this box. And really what we're doing here is extracting stories. We're on a mission to kind of uncover, discover, like, what is the ultimate true story that's there. We can show up with a vision, we can show up with ideas, but we have to trust the process, and that real story is going to come out in the moment in time as we're doing it. So this is awesome. Guys,
yes.
If you're still listening in and you're wondering, how do I wrap this up? How do I like move on with my day and feel inspired? Start thinking about what mission. Maybe you don't have a mission. Maybe this is just a hobby for you, or you're just looking for some creative inspiration. Still play the game of like, what mission can I be on? And what vision do I have right now? The vision can always change, right? But write it down, make a promise to yourself, and move towards it little by little. And then share your goals with us. We'd love to hear it. So if you're listening in on Instagram or Facebook, share your ideas with us. And join us next time. We're going to be coming here every week. Thanks, Denise, for joining us. Hope to see you next week. Hope it doesn't get too cold too quick up there for you, Alicia.
It's your birthday.
But we'll see you guys next week. We'll be sharing our
So
work.
nice to have you, Lauren. Thank you for
it's awesome.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else, whoever wants to
listen.
Yes, we love having everyone join us. So we will see you next time, guys. Bye, Alicia. Stay
Bye.
warm. Have a great day, guys. Happy Wednesday.